Hello and welcome back to Good Nightmare. I apologise in advance if you hear any sounds of excessive vacuuming going on. My neighbour has a little bit of an obsession with vacuuming his boat for 4 hours a night, every night. Hopefully not too much of it will make its way into the recording, but I apologise if it does. I'm still just an amateur like most of us indie podcasters, or at least like some of us indie podcasters, and I'm currently considering setting myself up in my wardrobe, which is built in, not walk-in, so you can imagine how nice and cozy and quiet it would be in there. Anyway, if you've been listening for a while, you'll know that Good Nightmare is a podcast where we talk about the strange and unusual, from history and folklore to fairy tales and true crime. When available, I'll also recommend you a book for further reading, or something that just kind of matches the interests of the particular episode. This time I don't really have one, but there is a TV show which I'm going to mention very soon that you'll probably enjoy. As always, please stay tuned until the end of this episode, as I will have a promo from another podcast. I also want to give a special heads up to Ember and Quinn, who are starting their very own podcast this year. I'm going to put their promo as well at the end of this episode, so you'll get 2 this time. So definitely stay tuned, especially if you're looking for some new material to listen to. Now let's get to the case. I did mention on my Twitter that you might see a pattern in this particular case. I tend to cover mostly female suspects and I guess stories that have a female as the main protagonist or possibly antagonist, I guess. In this case, we are discussing a male, but you may also notice that I tend to have a preference for axe murders. I have no idea why, but it seems that that is my favourite kind of case, in the least morbid way possible. So if, like me, you're a fan of American Horror Story, then you're likely familiar with the Axeman of New Orleans. I know I'm sounding very Australian when I pronounce that. My friend Abby tried to teach me to say it the American way, New Orleans, but it's a hard habit to break. I'll do my best. So perhaps like me, this is also where you first heard of this serial killer, who was active from May 1918 to October 1919 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Let me just start by saying that the Axeman has never actually been identified, though there are a couple of suspects who seem to fit the bill. 2 of these suspects died within 2 years of the murders, and it's not likely that we'll ever have answers. The Axeman's name is as obvious as it sounds. His weapon of choice was usually an axe that he would find in the resident's home, though he was also known to use a straight razor. I'm just going to quickly mention here that one of my favourite crime periods in Australian history is the, gang wars that involved razors. If you've seen Underbelly Razor, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. A very dark and brutal time that I would love to cover on this podcast. The Axeman would use a chisel to break out a panel of the back door of his victims' homes, and he would use this open panel as his entry point. Quite a small opening. He would then attack one or all of the residents in the home. The majority of the crimes were committed against Italian immigrants, which has led some to believe that the murders were ethnically motivated. Colin and Damon Wilson, criminologists, suggest that the murders were sexually motivated and that the male victims may have only been killed or harmed so that the murderer could get to the women of the home. In some cases, the men in the homes were left alive, which could support this point, but there's no way to know for sure. New Orleans is known most for its music and its culture, and the Axeman played on this in his murders. One of the most notorious facts from the case is that he threatened the people of New Orleans with brutal murder if they did not play jazz music in their homes. The letter he sent as a warning reads as follows. Hell, March 13, 1919. Esteemed mortal of New Orleans, they have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit, a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, besmeared with blood and brains of he whom I have sent below to keep me company. If you wish, you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me. Of course, I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offence at the way they have conducted their investigations in the past. In fact, they have been so utterly stupid as to not only amuse me, but His Satanic Majesty, Francis Joseph, etc. But tell them to beware. Let them not try to discover what I am, for it were better that they were never born than to incur the wrath of the Axeman. I don't think there is any need of such a warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me, as they have in the past. They are wise, and know how to keep away from all harm. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as a most horrible murderer, which I am. But I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will, I could slay thousands of your best citizens, and the worst, for I am in a close relationship with the angel of death. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, on next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well, then so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of you people who do not jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, and it is about time I leave your earthly home, I will cease my discourse, hoping that thou wilt publish this, that it may go well with thee. I have been, am, and will be the worst spirit that has ever existed, either in fact or realm of fancy. The Axeman. While many did adhere to the rules or attempt to keep themselves safe, there were others that invited the Axeman into their home, armed against him, telling him they would leave a window open so he wouldn't have to damage the door to get in. By the end of the murderous spree, there would be 12 victims. On May 22, 1918, Joseph Maggio and his wife Catherine were murdered in their homes with the use of a straight razor and an axe. June 27, 1918, would see Louis Bessemer and Harriet Lowe attacked with a hatchet belonging to Bessemer. Mrs. Schneider was 8 months pregnant when she was attacked on August 5, 1918. Her husband discovered her when he arrived home late from work. Mrs. Schneider survived, remembering nothing of the attack, and gave birth to a healthy baby girl only 2 days later. Joseph Romano was attacked on August 10, 1918, but the attacker fled the scene upon being discovered by Mr. Romano's nieces, who he was living with at the time. The young women described the intruder as a heavy-set, dark-skinned man. Personally, I find this questionable, and it has also been questioned by others, given that a man fitting through a panel on a back door would have to be quite slight. Charles Cortemilia was attacked on March 10, 1919. in the home he shared with his wife and daughter, who had also been attacked. Unfortunately, their daughter did not survive. Steve Boker was attacked while he slept on August 10, 1919. He was attacked after the Axeman letter was released. He survived, but had no recollection of the attack. Sarah Laumann was attacked on September 13, 1919. She was 19 years old. Her neighbours came to investigate when they heard her screams, and she was found missing several teeth and with a severe head injury. She survived, but like other victims, could not remember any details of the attack. The last known murder by the Axeman of New Orleans was of Mike Pepitone on October 27, 1919. His wife awoke during the attack to see the axe-wielding intruder fleeing the scene. Her husband had been hit in the head, and blood was spattered over the walls and a painting of the Virgin Mary. He left 6 children behind. Overall, there were to be 6 murders and no convictions. As I said, there was one description of a heavy-set man that was given, though it is likely that the man may have been smaller given that he had to fit through a door panel to gain entry to the homes. This may also explain why he attacked his victims at their most vulnerable. If you've heard any theories or updates about the case, perhaps you could share them with me and I could include them on an upcoming episode. The tragic events of these nights have been referenced in pop culture many times, including in songs, film, and television. Let me know if you have a favourite representation or theory about the Axeman of New Orleans. As always, you can chat with me on social media on Twitter or Instagram at goodnightmare_s or email me at goodnightmare_s@outlook.com. Whether you're a new podcast looking to share your promo or just a listener who wants to chat about cases or books or just say hi, I'm always here to talk. Remember to keep your doors and windows locked and your axes well out of reach. Sweet dreams.
My name is Hunter.
And my name is Brittany.
And we are the hosts of
Murder and Such,
a podcast about murders,
death,
serial killers,
the macabre,
and dark subject matter.
Join us each episode while we take a more vulgar and explicit dive into cases that you may know,
and some you've never heard of.
Subscribe to our show on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Podbean, and most other podcast services.
And be sure to follow us at Murder and Such on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
We hope to hear from you soon.
Stay weird.
Hi everybody, I'm Ember.
And I'm Quinn. Together we're best friends who happen to be married. Pervy, dark, and full of humor, we come together to bring you the Fiercely Altered Perspective podcast, also known as the FAP Pod. One so good it'll be hard to beat.
Coming Friday, March 2nd, 2018. Join us each week as we cover all those creepy topics we secretly enjoy. From true crime to Tinkerbell and every dark, delicious thing in between. Stay tuned at the end of each episode where we'll have a little game of Guess Who. Meaning, we'll give you a description for the following week's episode that will require you to do a little bit of armchair investigation to uncover who or what we will be covering.
So join us on our social media where we will keep the details moist until our release. Oh, God.
No.
We can be found on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the FAP Pod. And be sure to join our Facebook group, the official FAP Pod group, for discussions and sneak peeks.
We're busting down the door so you can see things from our perspective, and we hope you stick around to tell us yours. Until then, keep your eyes open and your palms soft. See you in March.
Hard to beat.